to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What is up, Forgers? Welcome to episode number 39 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and this week, as always, I'm joined by the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than the first day of fall. It's Kristen Ashton. Kristen, I have a very fond spot in my heart for both you and the first day of fall.
That's fantastic, because I do too. And heaven knows there have been crunchy leaves all over the ground. So when I go to the gym and I come back, I am always leaping from crunch leaf to crunch leaf.
I love fall. I love the weather change. It's my favorite season, so that is a compliment. There is lots going on. Talking about seasons, let's get straight into some news here in these Blizzard games that are going on, just barely touching on some of this awesome stuff. So we have the next season is in full swing inside of Heroes right now. Have you done your placement matches yet, or are you kind of just waiting it out for a little bit?
Part of me wonders if I might ever even do those placement matches, because I honestly do not play enough to have my skill level up to a place where I would be proud of it. And it's 10 games again. It's 10 games, and I've got so many other things to take care of, especially with BlizzCon coming up. So it's a tentative maybe. What about you?
Yeah, I have to fully agree. Normally on this show, for the most part, we are 100% positive about everything that's going on. This, I think, is a misstep. This 10 game, it doesn't feel good. You know, you're playing the game and you worked so hard last season, especially if you were doing the grind, especially if you were trying to get as high as you could, and you know, you're stuck in these areas, and these 10 games just seem so daunting. And it seems especially daunting to me because there wasn't an MMR reset or a full wipe of everything that you had done before. It's holding on to the knowledge that it already has of your playstyle and still requiring you to play 10 games. I know that there are worse things to be complaining about, right? You're playing a video game. The game is requiring you to play more of this video game, but I want to get out there and I want to start my grind up. I want to start, getting those promotion matches sooner, and when I'm playing 10 placement matches to just fall in the exact same spot that I fell before, it hurts, Kristen. It doesn't feel good.
It does, because that's a lot of time to sink into 10 games when it could have just placed you where you were and you could have spent 10 games trying to climb or fall.
Exactly. And so I haven't completed them yet. I did 4 of the 10 games and I won all 4 games, but I'm not about to get my hopes up. Last time I won 8 of the 10 games and then I placed around where I thought I would. So I'm not getting my hopes up on, I'm a 4-0. Like I'm gonna rock it out and place in Diamond League. And I don't expect to do that either. And that really wouldn't be fair or cool either. But if they're not gonna do an MMR reset, I think personally, or a full wipe, I think that it should be 5. 5 games still seems like a lot to me, but maybe 5 or even 3.
As long as it's an odd number, right? So that you either have a majority of wins or a majority of losses. I would have to agree with that. I think maybe they should drop it down to 5 next time, kind of figure out how that works, if it's a good number or if it's still too much, and then hopefully potentially just down to 3. Because I think at 3, maybe even 5, you take it a bit more seriously because you don't have 10 games. So you can throw a few of them if you're stuck with a team you don't like. But at 3, you only got 3 shots to do well, so you're probably going to focus more.
Yeah, so that was my little rant about that. It's still a really fun game. I still really enjoy playing it. Obviously, we do a podcast about it, but I want that 10 down to 5. I want to make it really tight, and, in there you gotta, like you said, you really gotta focus so that you can get in there and get out and get back to, earning those rewards, get back to playing those matches that are promotion and demotion, because those are a cool idea to me, like the fact that what's at stake. So I want to get to that more, but things that they're doing right, almost everything else is just so great. Warhead Junction, Kristen, is really, really, it takes the cake in my opinion of one of the coolest battlefields out there, only because I love the mechanic of the nuke.
It's so much fun. You grab a nuke, but you can drop the nuke and somebody else can steal it from you. It's like very slow football. And the map is huge. It's enormous. I can't even fathom how big this map is.
Yeah, the map is huge. I really want to get in there in the live game and see how this works out. I mean, I love the map, the new StarCraft map that they already released, but this one, Warhead Junction, to me, I think will be more fun. And with Zarya coming in too, I haven't had a chance. Is Zarya on the PTR? I haven't logged into the PTR quite yet to see how she plays.
She is in the PTR, and there are many jokes going around about her being far weaker than she looks. Because you look at her, she's supposed to be the strongest woman in the world. So you think maybe a Sonya clone, right? But no, not at all. Apparently she's a very interesting hero to try and figure out.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, with that whole ranged tank aspect of her coming into the game, which is something that not a lot of players will be able to play right off the bat. It's going to take a lot of learning curve, especially for someone like me, that's used to, if I'm going to play a tank, I'm going to jump on Leoric and, get in there and fight a completely different way, I'm sure, than Zarya would. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. And just these tournaments, I mean, there was a huge esports announcement from Blizzard where they're changing the structure of esports, and everyone seems to be stoked about it.
It sounds like some pretty cool changes, especially the one where we're going to have teams that are on the Blizzard paycheck. That is pretty darn cool. I think that is a step in the right direction because it's going to give teams purpose and it's going to give them a reward for keeping their focus together and doing well every single time they play because they can get knocked out.
Yeah, that is what I think. And I mean, you read all of these articles online on Reddit and things about people that have come to the Heroes esports scene and have actually turned around and left. And for the most part, these issues and questions that they've had on reasons why they've left have been kind of addressed in this restructuring of Heroes esports. So I'm hoping that it keeps people around more, being able to actually earn a living doing this and being able to be supported by the community by it. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff, and I just hope that it also includes media like us getting out there and being able to interview more players and things like that. I'm really excited for the opportunities that they're really focusing on the esports scene with Heroes a lot.
Yep, and it's one step at a time too, right? Because this is an extremely young business. And I think we forget that because we assume it's like a well-established sport such as baseball or football, but it's not. It is a baby in comparison to those. So there are going to be missteps along the way. There are going to be lessons learned. And it sounds like they are taking into account the most important factors that will lead to the longevity of esports.
Absolutely. And I that is such a good point that I didn't even think of. I mean, I was one of those people that thought this was, come on guys, we've been doing this for like, what, a year? I mean, they're figuring it out, and there's a lot of salt that's thrown their way and they're dealing with it. And I think that is a good sign that they will continue to improve in the future. And I'm excited where it's headed. And speaking of, I mean, where it's headed is TwitchCon this weekend. There's going to be a Heroes tournament at TwitchCon, Kristen. It's going to be insane.
It sounds nuts. And I was told, and I got super excited about this, that there is going to be an Omen challenge with the Heroes event where Heroes players or streamers who play Heroes are going to be put in these custom torture chamber boxes. And then the audience gets to vote on what kind of elemental change happens.
You're kidding. I didn't hear about that. I think that's the one that's happening right before or during the TwitchCon party, which is on that Saturday night. Huge DJs are going to be out there playing at Petco Park, which is where the San Diego Padres play. I mean, this party is going to be huge, and Heroes is actually listed on the ticket for this party. And so I thought that's got to be where that Omen is going to be.
It sounds like so much fun. And it's a great way to also kind of build camaraderie with groups of people because not everybody there is going to know heroes and not everybody there is going to know non-heroes games. So you're going to have this weird amalgamation of nerds. We're all nerds here, nerds, geeks, whatever you want to call us. Who have different nerdy interests. But by giving everyone this shared experience, possibly before the concert, you build hype to an unbelievably awesome level.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. I mean, if you're going to TwitchCon, I will be there. I'll be there all day Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. So hit me up on Twitter or hit up HeroesForge on Twitter and let me know where you're at. And I'd love to say hi to anybody out there that's going to be there. Maybe grab a drink at the party or whatever and just totally check out some awesome Omen challenges for heroes because I think that just sounds like a crazy idea. And speaking of awesome other crazy things that are happening, Emerald Nightmare opened up in World of Warcraft this week. Kristen, I gotta tell you, I spent some serious time and I got through Emerald Nightmare, and although moments were fantastic in that raid, some other moments were pretty frustrating.
Yeah, you were explaining that there are those bosses where you beat them and just feel dirty because you were so filled with rage that it took so long to take them down because of these fools on your team that you're just ready to toss your computer out the window and say, I'm done with this.
Yeah, the thing that I love about players in Warcraft, especially when something new comes out, is that if you're willing to learn, it goes a long way. You come into these groups and you're willing to listen to someone that may have more experience doing this than you, jump in there, listen to what they say, and then as a team, complete the fight. It's when people kind of swim against the grain, or swim against the grain, swimming upstream. That's like
against
10
the
analogies. It's like 10 analogies together, but it just makes it harder and less of a fun experience. But the raid is really cool. There's some really cool battles in there. Check it out. If you get to eye level 840 or higher, you can get a group easy in the promenade group section. Looking for raid, automated group finder opens up on Tuesday, I believe. You can get a group together really fast and get in there and complete some awesome quests and see some of your favorite characters that are even present in Heroes live in action in their home world inside of World of Warcraft. So, I mean, it's really cool, Kristen, and there's some awesome characters in there that I want to put on this show right now. I mean, there are some really cool ones that I hadn't even thought of that we should put in there. So my mind is going astray with ideas. So before we get more off track, let's forge.
Let's forge.
And let's do just that. Let's forge. This is HeroesForge. And like we said at the beginning of the show, this podcast is a little different than any of the other Heroes podcasts out there. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If this isn't your first time, you know the ropes, you know how this works. We're going to take a hero from one of these Blizzard universes and just kind of come up with what they would look like if we put them into Heroes of the Storm. It's a fun and wacky journey. Me and Kristen kind of both build a kit and we just talk through it. And Kristen, why don't you tell everyone who is on the docket tonight to be forged for Heroes of the Storm?
On the docket tonight, we have Malthael, but not any specific Malthael, right? We gave ourselves a challenge because Heroes is in need of supports. And so we challenged ourselves to turn Malthael into a support.
Absolutely. And, you know, this challenge comes from all of our listeners and viewers that are watching the live recording, which records every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/Amove TV. After the show is over, we usually hang out for a little bit and just chat back and forth. Well, last week we hung out for quite a while and we were talking with chat back and forth about ideas on heroes that we could put onto the show, and it was so cool. So shout out to everyone that hung out with us last week. That was really fun. And this idea spawned from that fun. And I think it started, Kristen, when we were talking about we need more supports, right? And the supports that we've got in the game right now are a little fluffy, wouldn't you say?
I would say they're a little fluffy. I think the hardest support we have, I'd go with Karazim just because he's a fighter at heart. He wanted to be a DPS, but sadly, he got relegated to the task of healing. Or not sadly. I take that back. Or not sadly. That's not necessarily a bad position to be in.
Right, no, but I understand completely what you're saying. So, I agree. And so we came up with this idea, and with the help of chat, they're like, what about Malthael? Like, how can we get a dark support in here? How can we get a character that supports the team in a weird sort of dark, dark way like Malthael would? So you may not think of Malthael as a support character. I know I sure as heck didn't when I first thought of Malthael. I'm like, assassin, bam, or tank, bam. He's got those two, like, huge size that he used to just, cut people down, and he looks like the Grim Reaper, and he's, the Angel of Death, which we'll get into a little bit more. So, but I don't know about you, Kristen, but support was not my first idea.
Not even a little bit close for me either. He's an Angel of Death. He takes life. That is the exact opposite of healing. And I think that speaks to how we view healing. We view that as a happy, holy thing, right? When you choose Shadow Priest in World of Warcraft, that's evil. Your daggers whisper things to you that they probably shouldn't be whispering to you. But if you want to heal, you either go with Holy or Discipline, which is gold and white and all of these pure, rich colors. So how do we then take healing and make it dark, like blood magic or something?
Yeah, which is so cool. And this was a lot of fun to do. So this one is going to be a little wild and wacky. I mean, hang on to the train because it's leaving the station right now and it's going to be a blast. So let's start. Kristen, why don't you give us a little rundown on Malthael and his place in this crazy, he has a crazy backstory inside of the Diablo universe. So let's hear it.
Okay, as condensed as possible. In the beginning, Malthael was wisdom and stood as leader of the Angiras Council. Oldest among the archangels, he was the one that found the World Stone and placed greater value in it than in all other things. In time, the World Stone was stolen by Lilith and her angelic consort to be hidden within the world created of it, Sanctuary. Driven mad by not knowing where it had gone, Malthael began to show the first signs of his eventual break from the angels, however slight these omens were. Following the destruction of the World Stone, Malthael disappeared, following a road none had dared tread, one that would lead him to become the Angel of Death, a being that could finally destroy all demons, something that even the unbelievably powerful Nephilim could not do. Malthael would eventually steal the Black Soul Stone and break it, consuming the very essence of the evil caught within before doing battle with the Nephilim that had come to stop him. However, though a victory for the people of Sanctuary, Malthael's death only ensured that Diablo was set free once more.
Oh, I love that turn of events at the end. You just think about it's like a give and take, and which evil is the better evil to have around, and Malthael, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but I believe he wanted to kill the Nephilim and everyone that had any sort of demon in them, right? Because he saw that humans were part demon and wanted to just annihilate anything that had anything to do with demons.
Correct. So humans were descendants of the Nephilim, which were half angel, half demon. And because humans still had that demon part to their soul, ripping that part from them would kill them. So in essence, yes, he would have destroyed the entirety of humanity on Sanctuary.
Right, which is the goal of a lot of people inside of this universe. They that's why the Nephilim are around, right, to help out without that happening. But like you said in the last sentence of your introduction here, it's only ensured that Diablo was set free at the end of this. So,
yeah, so we can have sequels. That's how I take it anyway.
And I want Diablo to be set free. I like Malthael. It would have been cool to have more Malthael. Maybe he'll come back. Who knows? A lot of characters come back. But I'm feeling a Diablo sequel, Kristen. I'm feeling it at BlizzCon. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I'm crossing my fingers.
I think if they do that, it would probably be more expansion. That's what I'm potentially going with. But even then, where would it expand to? Maybe we find the Diablo trying to reforge his body back together.
Yeah, I've read some crazy forums and stuff where people are talking about how Blizzard in some way or another has said that they're done with Diablo 3, like they'll keep supporting it, but they won't expand on it anymore. I don't know though, I think they got something cooking up. I think either Diablo 4 or an expansion, or I've heard some people talking about, a rework of Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 even, putting it in the Diablo 3 engine. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll have to wait till BlizzCon, but more to come. So with Malthael's death, Diablo is still around, which gives us the opportunity for those expansions. But what if Malthael was a support character in Heroes of the Storm? Crazy to think this Angel of Death might be able to support. This was a ton of fun. So, Kristen, why don't you hit us with your trait? Tell us what you think the baseline for Malthael, the support, would be.
Malthael, the support. I'm going with something called From Death, Life. All damage Malthael does is transferred to his nearby teammates as health.
Whoa. Okay. So just straight up, anything he does is transferred as healing to the friendly heroes. So do they have to be in a certain area to benefit from this?
Correct. I would think it's a pretty large area. It would be relatively giving, but they would need to be nearby in order to receive the healing.
Oh, and what does this look like as they hit? Because I play a tank demon hunter in WoW, and every time you hit, you have a chance to spawn these little purple clouds that are all around you, and then you can use another ability to pull all of those purple clouds in and give you health. So I'm imagining, what are you thinking this is going to look like for Malthael?
Oh, I'm thinking, okay, so you know how in the game when the souls are being sucked and stuff, right? There are those little wispy pathways. It would be just like that. It would be a wispy pathway that is focused on the hero being damaged and spreading outward toward those close enough to get the healing.
Oh, those wispy pathways, I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch in this. If you haven't seen or played Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, there's an amazing cutscene that was used to announce it. And it's got Tyrael in it, it's got Malthael in it, and it's just beautifully drawn, and it's just great. Check it out on YouTube. Even if you're not a Diablo fan, that cutscene is just gorgeous. And you can see what Malthael looks like, a creepy guy, I'm telling you. Really, really cool. So, Kristen, I love that, because it's got a Malthael feel to it, because you're still out there attacking and you've got these, weapons that you're wielding out there on the battlefield, but you're fulfilling that support role where you're kind of feeding your friendly team. But to do that, you got to be out there in the battle.
Exactly. And I mean, we have warriors that do a lot of damage, like Sonya. So with bruisers, right? Half warrior, half assassin, maybe a little more than the other. So why can't we have an assassin healer?
Absolutely. I love it. I think there are no boundaries for them either. I think they look at all this stuff and kind of decide as they go too. So my trait on my side is called You Can't Stop Death. So being the Angel of Death and the former Angel of Wisdom, it would be tough to forge Malthael without having some sort of death cheating ability, right? So Malthael's trait is activatable, and allows him to transfer to the realm beyond. When this happens, the Malthael player sees a version of the battleground that is all shadow. They are able to be in this realm for a very short amount of time, but are not able to use abilities, be seen, attack, or be attacked by the enemy team. Once the timer ends, the Malthael player reappears on the battlefield, will be seen, and can be attacked once more. The Malthael player can use this ability to become a quick-moving support that has great mobility and survivability.
Oh, nice. So he just disappears and he can see what's going on through shadows. Now, does he receive heals while he's in this realm?
No, I'm thinking he just uses this as placement, like as a placement tool. Just a basic trait where you can kind of just poof out of the realm. And I just really loved the idea of kind of going into this one ring to rule them all look, where, Malthael decides to use the trait and everything's just like like, and he's in this shadow realm that he can kind of just walk around in and then decide to reappear. Now, I don't think it would be super long, not like a Tacitor, you know, that's able to disappear and go a pretty long distance. This is just trait level here, so we're talking about short distances for repositioning. And when I talk about a few more of my other abilities, you'll probably see why this would come in handy. So
That's so awesome. So also, too, how short would the cooldown be? Do you think this is something he could really spam if he puts his mind to it? Or would it be you do it once, but you better make sure you put it to good use?
I think it's more on the spam level. I think I really want him to be able to, and I see him as super squishy, maybe like even an assassin level squishy or something, you know, where you're out there, maybe a little tougher than that, because I mean he's wearing armor and all that jazz. So, but I want him to be able to be mobile, and you'll see why in a little bit. And speaking of mobile, let's get onto mounts here. So my mount, I mean, it's just too cool the way he floats, right? With these wings that just, you know, out, and then he can kind of just float, and his wings are all like see-through and bony and, you know, grim reapery, and they look so cool. So I thought he's got to do that, and he's got to have some sort of cloud that follows him, and, you know, floaty and stuff. But how cool would it be if you had, this is a tangent totally, but what if he had like a throne that was carried by skeletons or something that he could get into? And I know that's more of a Leoric thing, which I wish Leoric had a bone throne or something, but I think it'd just be really cool to have a character that had a throne that they could roll around on.
That would be perfect, though, too, because you would get the bone throne for both Leoric and Malthael. It would be multi-purpose. Li Ming would look awesome on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Murky. I mean, this would be a multi-purpose throne.
So that was my second idea. What were you thinking? How would he mount? Were you thinking the floating too?
I was thinking a war beast. You know those big dogs with the glowing blue mouths?
Ooh.
I love those things. And if Malthael is the excuse to get those as a mount in Heroes, then we'll use it.
Done. I love that idea. The war beast, I know exactly what you're talking about. That is really cool. Let's get into some basic abilities here. So my first basic on my build is called Sinners and Saints. So Malthael selects a target enemy hero to drain the very life essence from. Once this hero is selected, they see their soul hover above their skin. This effect lasts for a short amount of time and allows Malthael to transfer health from this character to a friendly hero. Malthael selects the target for the healing, and the wisps of health travel from target to target. This heals the friendly hero for a set amount of damage and deals a set amount of damage to the enemy. So this is a life tap, but Malthael is controlling it, and it has a time to it. I mean, there's time to perform this ability. So you run in, just as an example. You run in, and let's say Nazeebo is there on the enemy team, and Malthael is fighting with Nova, right? So Nazeebo's doing whatever. Malthael can pop this ability, Sinners and Saints, on him, and he just kind of just starts to glow, right? Nazeebo starts to glow, kind of like how Tyrael in the cutscene, you can kind of see the soul, like his soul glowing outside, which is so cool and nerdy. So anyway, so he does that, and then Malthael can select a target, and he's got a few seconds to do this. It's not an instant sort of thing. Once he selects the friendly target, which in this case would be who did I say? Whoever it is.
Nova.
On your team.
You were with Nova.
Nova. You select Nova, and then just the soul from Nazeebo will leave, deal damage to him, and then travel to Nova and heal her.
Oh, that's awesome. So I was envisioning like a Leoric fist grab, right, where it's this continuous stream that maybe there's a distance so Nazeebo could run away, right? But no, you're saying as soon as your friendly target is chosen, it instantaneously pulls health from the enemy gives it to the friendly unit.
Yeah, still within range though. I like your idea about being able to run out of range. I mean, I think you still have to be near Malthael inside of that AoE range to get that done. But yeah, it's instant. You can't break it. It's not like a Gul'dan life tap where you're just sitting there like, you know, you're pulling it in. It's like a zip and it's gone, and you did damage to that target and you healed your friendly target.
Awesome. So is Malthael going to be using one of his scythes to kind of poke at the soul of the enemy a bit and then chuck it off toward the friendly unit?
So. I hope so, because that is so cool. I mean, he's definitely going to use some sort of scythe sweeping motion to kind of pull the soul off of the enemy player and onto the friendly player. And then even when they get hit with the soul, maybe it's not like you said. Maybe it's not that same feeling of getting healed like an Uther heal or, you know, healed like a Brightwing heal. Maybe they get hit and it's some sort of weird animation that, you know, is giving them more soul essence.
Yes. So like in The Mummy, when Imhotep summons the soul of a Noxuna moon and it hovers over her body, taking its shape before finally entering into it.
Kristen, you know all the names of all the characters in The Mummy.
I love that movie. I can recite. When I was younger, I could recite all of Evie's lines word for word.
Wow. Yes, that is exactly the Hemotep thing is a perfect feel. I don't, like you said, I don't want it to be too bright and happy. You know, she's gonna take this soul essence, you know, and just that's the kind of feel. That's my cue. What's your cue?
My cue is Draining Scythe. Malthael performs 3 sweeping slashes with his glaives. Those are marked for death and take bonus damage from Malthael's basic attacks and abilities for a period of time.
Love it. I just love it because I love the marked for death feel. Because when you're Grim, you can't think of the Grim Reaper, right, without thinking of marked for death, right? And he's got these claws, these hands, these massive gauntlets that are sharp and, you know, nasty. Are you thinking that, I mean, marked for death is just a cool way of saying that. I think that's really, really neat.
Well, who doesn't tremble when they hear they're marked for death? I mean, if it's the black spot of pirate lore, of Treasure Island lore, you hear it and your blood runs cold because your time, you know, the time is coming soon, a lot sooner than you would have hoped.
So you're thinking this is going to stack with your trait, right? So if you are attacking players that are marked for death, they're taking more damage, which in turn is allowing Malthael to use your trait from death life and heal enemy teammates faster.
Correct. And I'm also thinking he would be a very combo heavy assassin as we go into the W and E.
Love it. Let's get into your W. What's your W?
Okay, so W is charge, and Malthael sweeps forward in a specific direction. If he hits an enemy or enemy unit, it suffers damage and is knocked back.
Okay, I see your combo here. So you're saying you charge in and then you're using your Q after that.
Correct. And then there's an E that'll play into that in a bit once we get to it.
So cool. And charge is a huge part of the Malthael encounter in Diablo. It's done a couple of different ways, actually, with a fall down charge and also across the battlefield charge. I mean, there's a lot of different charges for Malthael in the game. And I played the encounter again before we did this, and I just love it. It feels really cool. They did a really great job with that fight.
It's probably one of my favorite moments in Diablo 3. My second favorite moment is when you're fighting on top of the thing that's trying to bust down the door.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, the battering ram thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. That is a really cool moment, too. So I can't wait to hear your E to combo on top of that, because that already sounds really powerful. So my W over on my side is called Death is Cold, which is something I remembered from playing this because it's been a while. It's been a couple years since this encounter came out. That there are a lot of ice attacks in this battle and a lot of fire in the end too. So I mean, there's a ton of different elements stuff, but the ice just feels so cold and grim reapery. So Malthael sweeps his weapons in front of him, hoping to deal damage to enemy heroes on the battlefield. If an enemy is hit by this ability, they take damage and also gain a debuff that will allow Malthael to drain more health using his Q ability. So you're really just chilled to the bone here.
Oh, I love it. And I love all these references. So please promise me he's going to say a few of those Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze lines.
Absolutely.
Gold right there. So I love the combination this has with your Q, because you duck behind them, then hit W to make sure your Q is maximized, and you're at a close enough range that they probably wouldn't be able to run away from you in time to escape what Q does to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the duck behind him thing with the trait too. You come up right behind them. I mean, what's creepier than the death itself slowly coming up behind you, right? Oh, it's so good. And so it's worth saying that Blizzard has thought of Malthael already, and they actually, from what they say, they've built Malthael, and then they looked at it and they say, does this really serve Malthael well? Does this fit in this realm, in the storyline? Does it fit in heroes like this and all of that? And they've said that it didn't fit the way that they had built it. And that's how Leoric was born. So Leoric came in and they thought, oh, maybe these abilities and this kind of feel with a bunch of different tweaks would fit Leoric more, and it does. The way that they had designed it fits Leoric really well, and it's really cool. So it's cool to try to make it different enough than Leo, because Leo is so much fun to play, but a support Malthael would be just crazy.
It would be completely unexpected, I think, as like we stated earlier on the show. This is a crazy choo-choo train that we're going on. We know this. But I think pushing into this different realm has allowed us to really bring out more of his character, right? Because if there is life, there has to be death. It's a balance that has to be maintained. And with support so far, we're just focused on life. So right. we need a dark hero.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? He is focused on... I mean, it's clear that he chooses who dies. I mean, he is the angel of death, so why can't he just choose the enemy team and not yours? I mean, he's got a secret agenda. Malthael with a secret agenda. Let's move on to third basics here. My third basic is called Reaper. So Malthael uses his weapon to grab a targeted hero and lift them up into the air. After a very short amount of time, and a witty voice line, that's to be determined, Malthael will drop the player on the ground. This ability is meant to be a kind of stun for when the Malthael player is in trouble. Think of like a Diablo toss, but with not the switching of the hero's location to the opposite side of Malthael. While up in the air, the enemy hero is still able to be targeted by the friendly team and can take damage, but the real kicker here is that Malthael is still able to cast his other basic abilities during this stun. So he can hold you up into the air, and then he can drain your life essence while you're in the air and give it to a friendly teammate. And I'm even thinking that you could talent into it to where you could take them to the Shadow Realm.
Yugi boy, that would be incredible. And it's so Malthael, the pickup, the soul being sucked out toward him. It's also like a Dementor from Harry Potter. That's so amazing. Now, would he be able to heal himself? Because you mentioned it's also for when Malthael's in trouble.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's more in trouble. So if he's being chased, he could pick them up and, they could target him. Your friendly teammates could target him and try to save you. I actually envision that Malthael cannot heal himself. I think he can get into this fight and get into some serious trouble. And with these really strong abilities, we've got to give and take here a little bit. So in my build, at least, I was saying I think he can't heal himself.
Fair enough. I think that would work.
So it's different. It's kind of like a Lieutenant Morales feel where you're, not being able to heal yourself is a really tough thing. What were you thinking for your next basic?
Okay, for the next one, it's called Death Shroud. And Malthael summons forth a ghostly mist that follows after a target enemy hero. Any caught within it suffer small but regular ticks of damage and are slowed until the cloud dissipates.
A classic E here. I mean, it is really awesome. So it follows. How quickly does it follow? Can it hit the player that it's following, or is it not able to hit them, just other people?
I think, oh, that's such a tough call. I want it to be fast enough where it could catch up with them, but at the same time, you could outrun those death shrouds during the fight with Malthael. So I think, to be fair, it wouldn't be able to catch up with the hero that it's targeted on, but anybody else in its path it would totally get. But that's why you have the charge. You can knock them into the shroud, and then you do the draining scythe, super damage.
Oh yeah, and then yes, and with the trait though, I mean, we're talking about the heals here too. Being able to put that death shroud on someone, I mean, so that damage as well is going to turn into healing.
Correct.
Killer, or the opposite of killer. Really, really good. I mean, I love that idea too, because that has a definite raid mechanic feel to it, or even Malthael fight feel to it, where you're running around and you've got this shroud that you don't want to put in places that are going to hurt people. And I love that. I wish it was in Heroes more, things like that.
I think one hero at a time, maybe, so we can learn the mechanics. Just like Warcraft now, the world, the rares, they teach you how to move and stay on your feet so you're ready for the dungeons. So I think if they introduce it like that, it would be okay.
Yeah, just throw all the abilities in here. Give everyone stealth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would just the best games ever.
So fun. The best games ever. All stealth and like 2 bright wings. Actually, that might be actually kind of fun to play, because they wouldn't be able to see anyone and it would be really hard until they were revealed.
Oh, that would be hilarious. But those StarCraft players, they would be able to see, and that would
absolutely.
be fair.
They would definitely be on top of it. All right, those are some really cool ideas to kind of twist this Malthael idea into a support character. Before we move on to the next part of the show, I gotta thank our patrons out there. They have been supporting the show for a while now, and it has helped us so much. So thank you to all of our patrons out there. If you'd like to support the show, you can head on over to our Patreon site, which is patreon.com/HeroesForge. Over there we have some awesome Patreon goals that we're working towards, and we want to get forging battlegrounds for you. We want to get doing voting for all the heroes that we have on the show, and to do that we got to hit those goals on patreon.com/HeroesForge. So head on over there to check it out. Also, thank you to everyone that's given us a 5-star rating on iTunes. If you happen to listen to us on iTunes, it helps the show out a lot if you head on over there and drop us a 5-star review if you like the show. And make sure you leave a little note so that we can give you a shout out on the show. And thank you personally for helping support us. All right, Kristen, we're moving into it. Let's forge the heroics.
Heroic.
All right, as always, I got one that is pretty doable, and then I got one that's kind of crazy. So I'll start with my pretty doable one. The first heroic for Malthael is called Near Death Experience. Malthael pulls a wave of soul-sucking energy towards him, slowly pulling all heroes in range toward him. All enemy heroes are pulled, and their health is pulled from them, channeling to friendly heroes that are being pulled as well. If an enemy hero is pulled so far that they reach Malthael, he will draw his weapons and deal significant damage to the player, but the pull will stop. So in theory, think of an opposite of a mighty gust here. So you have the team. You're looking at me funny, Kristen. You have the team.
I do that because great minds think alike, man.
Oh,
wait till my heroic too.
So I swear I didn't read it. I promise you. So you have the team opposite of a mighty gust. You pull them in, and you're pulling your team as well. So you're pulling everyone, and the enemy team is taking damage, and the friendly team is taking that damage as health.
I like it. And then how wide is this thing? And it lasts, I'm assuming, a certain length of time or until the first enemy reaches Malthael?
Yeah, I think so. It lasts a certain amount of time, which is not super long. I mean, it's not going to move as fast in my mind as a Mighty Gust. Obviously, you're not just going to pull them all in, but it's going to be like that slow kind of pull, and you can see the souls of these people just kind of like coming out, maybe even grasping for help as they're coming out. I love that. It's so nerdy. That was my idea for my first heroic. Is yours similar?
My second heroic is similar.
Okay, let's hear your first one then.
So the first one is called The Last Enemy, and it's passive. Now, according to the Bible, 1 Corinthians 15:26, the last enemy to be destroyed is death. Because of this, Malthael is imbued with the supreme power to live longer than his allies. Malthael cannot be killed unless his nearby teammates are killed first.
Whoa. That is great. So when you say nearby teammates, so he's got to be clear of other teammates.
Correct. These would be the teammates that are in the range to be healed from his damage. If he's by himself, he can totally be wiped out, no problem. But if there is at least one person within that range, that one hero has to be taken out first.
Oh, that is so powerful because you're in these battles, right? And your build of this Malthael support is healing by the more damage that you're doing and these wicked combos that you've built. So you are taking this heroic and you know you're not going to die. So you run in there and every strike that you do and damage that is dealt because of your trait heals the heroes that are saving your life. I mean, that sounds really powerful.
Oh, stupid powerful. And it came to me because a big reason I like playing Murky is because I don't have a fear of death. You come back in a few seconds so long as you protect your egg. So why can't we have a healer that doesn't go, oh no, 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 and then they're dead in 2 seconds once they get targeted down. I would love to see a support that is just crazy on the battlefield because they don't have to worry about dying for a period of time. And if you're the Angel of Death, you get to say when you go, right?
Yeah, I love that. That has got flavor all over it. It's very, very good. So that's so cool. I played around with the idea when I first did this build last week when I was thinking, what if we made it so that Malthael couldn't die, like ever, in the game? What kind of sacrifices would we have to make in the game in order to make that viable, right? So if you're out there and you have an idea to give Malthael a trait where, it's called the same thing maybe as my trait, which is you can't stop death, right? So you just can't kill him. How do we have a give and take here where it's viable to have him on that battleground? I'd love to hear your ideas. You can always email us any of your ideas. Our email address is contactheroesforge@gmail.com. You can send us all your ideas if you've got hero kits, ideas for heroes to be on the show, and also this one specifically, if you have an idea to make that viable, let us know because I'd love to hear your guys' awesome ideas because they're usually way better than ours, Kristen. I mean, they're really good. Let's hear your second heroic.
Okay, the second heroic, this one ties to your first one, and it's called the Ebb and Flow. And based on the cinematic, when he shows up and there's that the wind, he's sucking forward all the souls of the Herodrum there, right? Such a great scene.
Yeah.
So this one, blasting forward, Malthael releases a debilitating torrent of air that crashes over enemy heroes like the tide upon the shore. Enemy heroes hit by it are knocked down for a brief period of time and suffer continual damage while being caught within it. Should an enemy hero die while within this ability, the lowest health friendly hero is then immediately restored to full health. An eye for an eye.
Yeah, an eye for an eye, or soul for a soul. I mean, that is too cool. That's similar, but really different. I mean, it's different. Oh, I love the just the picture of all these heroes falling down right onto the ground. Would they have to add the animation for that? Because I don't think there is. I mean, they can get stunned and fall around, but this is a real I want them to hit the ground, right?
We want them to kneel and understand that in the realm of this world, death is one of the few permanents.
Yeah, until your death timer's over.
Yeah, yes.
I mean,
Or you get resurrected and brought back into the Nexus, you know.
that's
You
right.
know how it is.
I mean, and I love it though. It's such a great idea, and it's got that whole um last second heal kind of feel to it, right? So you can get in there, you know, somebody's in real big trouble, and you got to just pop this heroic to try to save someone, and hopefully someone goes down.
That is the dream. I think smart teams would probably draft a healer that could keep everybody above a certain threshold, whatever that would be. But you know, there are always those awesome moments where you could get a 5-team kill, and then you're all just ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. My second heroic over here is the crazy one. It's called Exorcism. So this is a large AoE circle that surrounds the Malthael player once it's activated. After a 3-second cast time, Malthael reaches to the heavens and a massive fog cloud comes crashing down on the battlefield. All friendly players that are in the fog circle will be cleansed. But not only that, all enemy heroes that are caught in the circle will gain the effects that were cleansed from the friendly team. In short, this ability will swap all negative effects on friendly team to the enemy team after a 3-second cast time.
Oh, oh, gross. Oh, oh.
Probably not viable, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's also very selective. You'd have to really find a spot where you could, you know, use this, like a shrink ray or something, and then you pop it and someone on their team's gonna get shrink rayed, or I don't know.
Yeah, and what if you do it where the negative effect lasts longer on the enemy it's put on? So therefore you can actually really get some value out of it.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that. And I just love the exorcism, because in the fight, you know, he summons these exorcists that come and fight with him and stuff, and it just screams that craziness, like the film Exorcism. So I thought, you know, why not take that element of the film where, you know, basically this demon was passed between people and put that into here. So I thought, let's pass any sort of negative effect that's put on you. What if it's DOT, right? So say you got some damage over time that's on you, this exorcism drops down, and so calling it a cleanse would not really do it justice. I mean, this is really going to swap anything that's negative on you to the enemy team. Would that work, you think? Maybe not.
I think, I mean, it would probably be more powerful, of course, based on the team comp you're up against, right? Because imagine a Lunara, she can put out a lot of poison damage. So being able to immediately negate that and then put it back on them,
Sounds pretty
that
heroic.
would feel like divine retribution right there.
Yes. That would feel like Malthael. I mean, that's the idea. So I wanted to come up with something like that with Exorcism. So that's the best that I could do, even though it may be OP or underpowered. If you didn't have the right team comp, it would still be a fun idea to think of. So let's move into specialty skins here. Kristen, what's your specialty skin for Malthael?
Okay, so I know we have a mummy skin for Zool, but he's like a snake god mummy. So I went with a pharaoh Malthael, the one we're talking the big headdress. He's coated in gold, and he's also carrying the sacred crook and flail.
Oh, that's the best part. We're on a mummy kick tonight. That's the best part. Oh, could his mount be a coffin or something?
Oh, it would have to be. He'd cross his arms, lay down into it, and it would take off.
Maybe, yeah, it would just hover above the ground, right? So maybe the animation of him summoning his mount is him like laying down in this coffin, and it just kind of hovers above the ground.
Exactly. That would be perfect.
That'd be really cool. And I'm really into that stuff too. That would look really cool on the battlefield, especially on, you know, some of these maps, these mummies, and, you know, Zool in his mummy form, or on Towers of Doom. It just looks really cool. It fits really well, right?
It does. And Sky Temple, too.
Sky Temple,
yes.
That's the best one. Yeah, that's a really good thought. So my skin for Malthael was actually inspired by the janitor Leoric skin, which we all saw on Reddit, which if it's not in the game soon, I swear I'm going to write a letter because it looks so cool. And that's a strong word. I'll write a letter. But the janitor Leoric skin is really, really cool. So I thought I'm going to go completely off the wall with Malthael too. And I'm going to say that he's going to be the parking zone Malthael. Okay. So I have a friend. This is kind of a story here. I have a friend whose father is awesome, coolest person ever. When you go in the car with him and you're driving somewhere and you're looking for a parking spot, he does this thing where he's going into the parking zone. So he kind of just closes his eyes and he imagines that there will be a parking spot for his car, right? And then when the parking spot shows up, he says, see, the parking zone worked. And then he pulls into the parking zone and he gets into the spot, and then we go about our day. So that's how he finds parking spots, right? So kind of an unconventional way of finding these parking spots. So I got that idea from Malthael, calling the parking zone Malthael. So you heard it right. He would be a parking attendant, complete with the hoodie. So he's going to wear the hoodie like he's got his hood. He'd have a whistle, a reflective vest, and he'd wield 2 flashing traffic directors. So that's his melee weapon there.
I love it. So instead of the parking zone, he would help you find the healing zone.
Right. And then when you go into like the shadow realm, it would be called the parking zone. And maybe it looks kind of like a parking lot.
Yes, and when you steal somebody's soul, it's parking tickets coming out of them and going to your teammates or something.
There you go. Parking zone Malthael. Right after janitor Leoric. We need it. Kristen, these builds are just so unique and so crazy to think that we could make Malthael a support character. I mean, with your build over on your trait, which is every bit of damage that Malthael does is transferred to your nearby teammates' health, is huge for a support character. But this has got a definite assassin feel to it too, because you're going in there and you got your combo wombo that you built in here with, charging in, being able to drain, using draining scythe, which is your Q ability to slash up the enemy with the glaives and mark them for death so they take more damage, and then dropping your E, which is death shroud, which is going to follow them around with a ghostly mist. I mean, you're dealing tons of damage with these combo wombos, and then that damage in turn is turning into health that's popping on your team, which is just more supportive than I could ever think of. I mean, that's really, really great. And then, of course, your heroics are just so good, so good. I mean, the first heroic, the last enemy, is probably my favorite of the two, because when you take this character who is the Angel of Death and say that they cannot be destroyed, that's huge into the lore. That's huge into it. And I love that it's a passive heroic too, because that isn't seen in the game super much. And then of course your ebb and flow heroic, being able to release that air that crashes over enemies, knocking them down for a brief period of time, and then they're going to take some damage. And then if they die, it's going to pop a huge life-saving heal on one of your friendly teammates that needs it the most. I mean, that's a support if I've ever heard it. So over on my side, with my trait, you can't stop death, being able to, do all of these crazy things using this trait, going into the shadow realm and being able to walk around a little bit and escape or get in a better positioning to kind of show up behind someone, and then using the Q ability to grab their soul and give it to one of your friendly teammates as health, and then swiping your weapon in front of you, using the Reaper to do some serious damage, and then of course the crazy exorcism heroic. We talked about pulling down that cloud and just completely swapping all of the debuffs that are on your team with other players. I think Malthael could be a support, and this was surprisingly super fun. Not that was surprisingly, but it was fun and doable to make him a support character, which a lot of people, including myself before this episode, would think that that's not possible.
Yeah, not possible, and keeping with his character, right? Because if that's one thing the Heroes design team strives for every hero they release, is that it sticks to the character, how they feel, their lore, how they look, all of that kind of stuff. And I think both of these builds are really, really cool in the fact that you focused on the way he flits around, his movement, which you can't deny. He is a presence that is all over the place, whereas mine is more of him standing there and being imposing.
Hey, but that's the Angel of Death. I mean, I don't know anything more imposing, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Definitely, we can say that this hero was forged.
Hero Forged.
What a blast. Thank you to the community and to all of our Twitch listeners that came out and gave us the idea for this. We want more of your ideas. You can find our website at HeroesForge.club. We have all the other 38 heroes that we forged over there on the Forged Heroes tab in the middle, and you can read all of the show notes that we type for all these characters and give us your thoughts on the Contact tab if you have some ideas for characters you'd like to see, or maybe try to be featured in our Featured Forger Spotlight, which happens once a month, where we take a build from the community and we feature it on the show. So check out the website, HeroesForge.club, for more of that. We're part of Amove TV, which is an amazing podcast and entertainment network with a lot of really, really great esports and video game podcasts. Check them out at their website. It's Amove TV. The show Into the Nexus is the Heroes of the Storm show over there, and they cover all of the news from the basics, and Kyle Ferguson has an amazing strategy section in there that will teach you what you're doing wrong, how to fix it, and it's just a killer podcast. So check it out, Into the Nexus on Amove TV. We record this show live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/AmoveTV. You can catch the live stream there, and we love to chat with the people in the chat room after the show, so come and check it out some Sunday night because it's a ton of fun. You can follow us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/HeroesForge, and you can download the show on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app of choice, as they would say. And if we're not on your favorite podcasting app, let us know and we'll try to get on there so that you can enjoy more Heroes Forge. Don't forget, if you'd like to support the show, you can support us on our Patreon site at patreon.com/HeroesForge. Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs?
In the interwebs, people can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as my health and fitness blog, battletobebetter.weebly.com, where this week we talk about the deceptive labeling practices of modern food manufacturers.
Oh, I bet that's really intriguing.
It was a very cool subject because I had to go back to ancient Rome and I traced the history of it through I read of people who traced the history of it and learned through that. And it turns out, of course, all the things they're doing is legal, but how we think of it and how it's portrayed is actually what's the deceptive part of it.
Wow. So wait, you're telling me you didn't get into a time machine and go all the way back and trace the origins of it?
Well, if that were an option, I might one day, but but sadly, no time travel this week.
We'll have to get Doc Brown on that. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening to the show. We're going to call it there. If you're headed to TwitchCon, shoot HeroesForge a direct message on Twitter, and I would love to meet up with you. You guys are rock stars, and we will definitely see you next time. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all in the real world.